37 Disney Street, which isn't far from you, 3 Disney fans have watched a film which they will now review.
Hello friends and welcome to 37 Disney Street. This week, with tails between our legs, we're going backwards to 2014 to take a look at the film we accidentally left in hypersleep in an alternate dimension. Classic number 53, Big Hero 6. I have some concerns. I'm Chris Fletcher.
I am not fast. I am Lucy Rain.
I go front, I go back, I go inside out, and then I go front and back. Hi friends, I'm Hugh Rain.
We need some papers to
shuffle the paper.
That was a lot better though.
For anyone listening, we normally just have, like on the video, we normally have to just sit there as the music runs, and I thought, let's just pretend to be talking to each other. Mm-hmm. So we just mimed at each other.
Well, you lift the veil on that particular move, didn't you, immediately?
So yeah, we mimed as the music was playing out there to each other.
Yeah.
Like we were on the, whatever.
But you wouldn't even know that because you're listening and not watching.
Yep.
And actually, only about 50 or 60 people watch this.
Only?
Yeah. Everyone else listens instead.
Mm.
But we'll hit the big time and people will start going through the back catalogue. Who's the person who's been going through the back catalogue and he keeps commenting and liking really old hashtags?
UK Shadow Hunters.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't. I'm loving that.
And it's a she, isn't it?
I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it might be both. Might be 2 people.
Yeah.
Mm.
It could be neither.
Could be. We might have made it all up.
So when we do random hashtag 37 Disney Street Tiki Mug or something like that, people are using the hashtags to go back and find them.
In fact, they were very complimentary about the fact that we used the hashtags because it made it easier for them to find these things. So.
I love it because every time they comment on one, it's it's like, oh yeah, we took a picture of that and to show you. Anyway.
It's like time hop.
Let's see if there are any in this show.
Okay. So this week we watched Big Hero 6. Well, that's a bit of a fib, isn't it?
Yeah, it was about 6 weeks ago.
It was about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like every show we're starting with an apology for things, but I did my ankle in, didn't I? Mm-hmm. No, my calf. Sorry, my calf, not my ankle. And so I had to miss the week when we were supposed to record it. And then last week we sat down to record it, and we had other issues. Mm-hmm. I've been polite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucy hadn't done her homework.
I hadn't done the homework. I'd not managed to do the history because I'd forgotten that we were doing an extra show last week.
Yeah, and what that means is we thought we were going to get to the end of this year and have finished the classics, but now I don't think we are going to get to the end of the year and finish them, are we?
Nearly done though. About 2 or 3 left, is it?
2, I think, isn't it, after this? Is that right?
Wow, yeah. Wreck-It Ralph 2 and Moana.
Yeah. Not in that order.
Yep. Well, that doesn't matter anymore because this one is
this
one's not in right order.
Also, Enchanted has just come back out.
Yes.
Now, so I think maybe we might want to revisit that at some point.
Yeah.
We were going to do Mary Poppins Returns as well, so we probably ought to have a look at that.
I love Mary Poppins Returns.
And
Encanto's coming.
Encanto, we're going to see that next week.
So we'll keep up with the new ones. And I think on special occasions, like I'd like to do Tron at some point. I'm not sure like where we would do that, but like Halloween, I'd like to maybe do Return to Oz. You know what I mean? So
I was wondering whether, well, it might cheapen things, whether we open up Patreon a bit and start putting these things on there. Because if we're not going to be doing a regular podcast, then you won't get the benefit of it. But we could put it on there, and it would be somewhere different, and you wouldn't necessarily have to pay money to do it. We could have it like an open, available thing. I don't know. I'm just thinking at the moment. I guess I feel like the pressure's off a bit once we get to the end of this to manage to put a show together every 2 weeks. Which we never managed to do.
And when we do get to the end, you can go back and listen to them all again.
Yeah. I've already started, I've gone back and listened to quite a few of the early ones now.
I think I'm on my...
We're very knowledgeable.
I think I'm on my fourth round
Lucy is.
Fourth round of all the Adam and Joe BBC 6 Music podcasts.
Oh, really?
Might be even the 5th time. Yeah, there's like
they are good.
There's like 100 of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you like some history? Because I've done my homework.
Well, let me press my button.
Okay.
We've got to remember about jingles.
It's time to dig a little deeper to learn some Disney stuff. Dig a little deeper, no, we ain't dug this far enough. Dig down deep into the facts, we'll find out what we need. Lucy will school us, guaranteed. Open up the windows, let in the light, children.
Okay, so Big Hero 6 was released on the October the 23rd, 2014, before Zootopia. This did come a little out of sequence. It was just a clerical error, but we're going back and we're mopping up what we've missed. It was actually released at the film festival in Tokyo on the 23rd of October, and then again it hit a film festival in Abu Dhabi on the 31st of October, before going for general release in the US and worldwide on the 7th of November. It's based on the Big Hero 6 comics by Man of Action. Now, Man of Action is kind of a subset of Marvel that's got its own sort of collection of artists and writers. And I think the most famous property they've got is possibly Ben 10. But they've got a few kind of the smaller comics. Now, what you need to remember is that in 2009, Disney, led by Bob Iger, acquired Marvel Comics. Well, no, not Marvel Comics. The screen rights, both animation and live action, to all Marvel Comics properties. And Bob Iger immediately encouraged the development of any property that they could find. So people were encouraged and challenged. Here's your toy box. Delve in. See what you can find. And he did want to start bringing to forefront some of the more obscure, unknown ones. So this is what faced all the potential directors, the top end of the creative team at Disney Animation, to just go at it, have at it, lads, see what you like.
I don't know if you're going to mention this in your notes, but this is nothing like the comics.
No, I don't know the comics, but I had a bit of a look into it before.
Yeah, I did.
Nothing.
It was a bit of a shock when I saw the front covers. I am going to get to that in the notes. Now, Don Hall, who was busy directing the 2011 version of Winnie the Pooh, he delved through and pitched 6 ideas from this. Here's your Marvel toy box, have at it. And the Big Hero 6 was the one that got picked up, basically. Not much else to say. So in 2012, the project was officially announced, although it had been in pre-production before then, and lots of resources were put there on. Bob Iger was keen that you'd choose something that was a little bit obscure because it allowed for more originality. So the head of story, Paul Briggs, only read a handful of the issues, and the screenwriter, Robert Baird, read none. They wanted to distance themselves from the original text so that they were able to be freer with the story. So I think basically somebody else had been left to give them the gist. And they go, there's 6 of them. Okay.
At what point do you just say, should we just write our own thing?
It's kind of like the Jungle Book, this then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because isn't that exactly what they did with the Jungle Book? They were like, well, Rudyard Kipling, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. Let's do something a bit like
It's not like the name's got like huge, cachet, has it? Like people are going, oh, Big Hero 6, finally.
Well, I think that's the only reason they could get away with it, really.
I was a big Marvel Comics fan. I had never heard of this before the film.
But if you had, how would you feel about them taking so much license?
Do you know what? If I was a real fan of it, I'd probably be okay with it, because then the comics would still be mine. My thing that I enjoy, and the film would be like something completely different. I'd be like, oh, that's cool, that's kind of separate. It's not like they've taken it and ruined my favourite characters, because they've made them all totally different anyway, haven't they?
But even within Marvel, from what I can gather, and I am no expert on the comic book publishing industry at all, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't published under the heading Marvel. It was this Man of Action publishing house that is the equivalent of like what Blue Sky is to Amblin, or what, you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's that kind of off to the side stuff. So they wanted
Touchstone.
Yeah, that's part of Disney that they don't want to admit to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's the stuff that does 18
Miramax.
18 films and 15 certificate films that are not very Disney. Anyway,
Pornography.
yeah. So they wanted to create an entirely new type of robot for this. The art department was sort of challenged with this. That was the first clue I had when I read that. I was like, so Baymax wasn't in the comics then? If they're having to create a new robot, and that's what made me go and look and was like,
Turned into
nothing
a dragon.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mental. So, they said there's so many types of robots that have already been done multiple times, and they cited things like Terminator, Wall-E, C-3PO. These have all been repeated in the same sort of guise, so I wanted a brand new one. And it was artist Lisa
They were
King.
all very different.
No, this is what, I mean, those were like the three that represented three different types.
Okay.
But then most of the robots can fit into one of those types.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it was artist Lisa Keane who said she wanted a huggable robot. Now,
Johnny Five was huggable. He even danced.
Well, it wasn't physically huggable, though.
no, it looked like Wall-E. That's what I'm saying. They all go into
She
these
cuddled
certain
him, though.
boxes, don't they?
Stephanie.
The researchers went to a robotics institute and to have a look about what was getting developed. And somebody there was developing soft robotics from vinyl, and it was to be used in medical things when they needed things to be gentle and soft and dealing with newborn babies and that kind of thing. So immediately they were like, right, we're doing that. Yes?
Why at that point didn't they say, this is brilliant, why don't we do a film around this and not bother with this Marvel thing? Because all they need to do is change some of the names and not have the characters' names, and then it wouldn't be Marvel, and it would be an original. Yeah, I know original things are few and far between these days. I get that. We don't do original films.
Because
Everything
he
comes from somewhere
just
else,
bought his new toy and he wanted to use it. That's why. This is the whole point of doing this animation, is do something Marvel. Go on. Just bought
This is
it.
annoying me now. I wish I didn't have the history.
I know, because it's like saying, right, Chris, I've got this radio. We can mess about with it. We can improve it. We can do all sorts of things with it. And then you come back to me a week later and you go, I've kept the screws. Let's make something from the screws. And I go, okay.
Like that junk program on BBC where they buy where they take it from the junk and they go, can I take that from you before you put it in the tip, please?
Yeah,
and,
that really
and I'll
nice
bring you back
woman.
the money from it, and they take these massive tables and stuff and they go, yeah, we're going to just use this leg.
Yeah.
And then they take, and we spent £600 on the materials to go with it, and we're going to sell it for £620. So here's £20 profit.
So once they'd got they'd got this idea from the Robotics Institute, the rest of Baymax very much came around from them thinking technically, how would you do it? It would be an inflated thing. It would have a lightweight skeleton. It would fold and pack because it was inflatable, etc. One lovely detail, because there is an Eastern feel to this film, is that his face was based on a Suzu bell from a Shinto shrine in Japan.
Okay.
You know, that kind of two dots and the line thing, which is, it's a very lovely little detail there. But
I've got something I can tweet based on that. I did a tweet where I found three things that reminded me of Baymax. So I tweeted it, and it said, well, I was trying to do a Sixth Sense, and I said, I see Baymax, he's everywhere, but that's actually, I quoted it wrong. Anyway, so I'm gonna tweet #37 Disney Street Baymax, and you can see what I did.
Cool.
there you go. The system works.
Just for you, Shadowhunters.
Yep.
But if you want to know something even more bonkers, Chris, where was the comic set?
I don't know, in space.
No, well, it was just set in Tokyo.
Oh, okay.
So that's relatively.
The pause, because I just showed them the picture.
Just dropped it in front of us. Thanks.
I mean, it's got some relation to what they did, but Disney went, Tokyo, nah. San Francisco, yeah. So that's where San Francisco came from.
San Francisco.
Now, the thing is, I always knew this was based on a comic, and this character of Baymax and the idea of San Francisco was so kind of out there, I presumed Disney had pulled them from the comics. So they decided to do this Japan meets California in San Francisco, because that's where they related robotics and new technology companies to be, is in that valley region. They chose an area called the Haight, which I didn't know much about before this, but I looked at some pictures and it's gorgeous. It's an area of San Francisco that has got all these painted Victorian houses and all the little coving, and they're all wooden and they're all multiple stories high, really beautiful houses. You will probably have seen pictures of them. So they Tokyoified that area, and they gave it a bit of a backstory that never comes up, but the artists gave them it themselves, where San Francisco was totally demolished in the earthquake of 1906, which is real, but it wasn't totally demolished. They had it being totally demolished, and that it was rebuilt, and it was abandoned by people who lived there, and then rebuilt by Japanese immigrants. So
Right.
that this is a fictional. Well, I think it's semi-fictional, but it's a fictional thing of why it's now called San Francisco and why it's got the design aesthetics it's got. Interesting. There you go. The end credit scene. What was the end credit scene again?
Stanley.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was added as a reaction to the MCU movies, which had started to come out at this point, and they'd got this thing of always having end credits that led on to something else. And the animators went to watch one. I can't remember which one it was. I should have written it down. Some of the head animators went to watch one and didn't understand why everyone was still sitting down at the end, and then realised this was very close to release, and then panicked that we're making a Marvel movie. Are people going to expect
Absolutely
an
gonna
end
expect
credit
it,
scene?
And for Stan Lee to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So they added this trope, as it were, afterwards in a panicked reaction to what had become fan behaviour, because we were already conditioned at that point to sit in the cinema. The music,
Good little children.
the music was scored by. Do you know what? We did it for Ghostbusters. Yeah, yesterday, and there wasn't a mid-credit scene, and I was like, "The lights are up, Hugh. I think we can go." And you were adamant, "No, there's an end-credit scene." And boy, am I glad we stayed.
So there's one just after the credits get going, and then there's one right at the end.
Right at the end. So stay put, people. Stay put.
Well, the first time I went to the cinema with our mutual friend Ben, he sat till the credits had rolled, because that's what he does, and therefore it's then become something that I do. Not since I've had kids, but for a very, very long time. I just sat and watched the end credits anyway.
I used
like
to
look
do
for
that.
Brian Wankham.
Well, who doesn't want to look for that? What I do is I always forget, and then as the credits start, I'll quickly get my phone up, and I googled it this time. I said, "Ghostbusters Afterlife, is there an end credit?" And it said there was 2.
right.
Oh.
So I was like, "Don't go anywhere."
Oh, you see, I don't like that. I kind of want to be surprised or not surprised or disappointed. Just kind of wait it out and see. Anyway.
I imagine Ben would do it just to get his value for money.
That's entirely what it's about.
Yeah.
Free seat. He's paid for that seat. He's going to use it as long as he can.
I hope he never listens to this podcast.
He does.
Right.
He loves it.
The music was scored by Henry Jackman, who also... Excuse me, I've got hiccups. Also scored Winter Soldier and Civil War for Marvel, Kick-Ass 1 and 2, X-Men First Class, Wreck-It Ralph, etc., etc.
Wow.
So he's got a good portfolio there, but he does superheroes well, it would seem.
Yeah.
And there was one original song which Hugh has been singing on and off most of the day, and it's
We could be immortals. Immortals.
Immortals
But not for long.
by
For long.
Fallout Boy. It was released in 3D and IMAX.
Wow.
Along with the short Feast.
Is the IMAX version available on Disney Plus now, along with all the other Marvel film IMAX versions?
Which one's Feast? Is that the one with the dog?
That's the one with the dog and
Yeah.
the urn who falls out.
Oh, yeah.
Cell-shaded dog.
Yeah. It's really good. That's one of my favourite Pixar shorts, actually, is Feast. It's very good.
It's a goodie.
Now, this was interesting. Well, actually, not that surprising. We went to Japan and we were aware of these tensions. But because of the tensions between Japan and South Korea, all references to Japan were removed. San Francisco became San Francisco again. Any Japanese language signs, of which there were many, were put into English. And they released it, and there was still some controversy, because in the background of some of the scenes where he's, that montage where he's making all the little beans.
Yeah.
Microbots.
Microbots.
yeah.
There was some small symbols on the corkboard that could have been the Rising Sun flag, and South Korea were not happy about that.
Get over yourself, South
So-
Korea.
Yes, well, that was a little change.
Have I just
Thanks for listening.
start a war with South Korea on the podcast?
I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Well, you don't know. We're getting pretty big.
And that is all she wrote.
Well.
Cool.
Now, it's been a little while, but what we're going to do today, I thought, for old time's sake,
Yeah.
is I thought we'd talk about the story and score it, and then we talk about the animation and score that. And then if we're feeling up for it, we'd talk about the story, No, I've already said that. Talking about the music, and we'd score that.
You are
do
rusty.
some favourite bits because I always forget those.
Yep.
And a bit of cry factor. But before we do that, and I'm really hoping this works and I put the right one in. I thought it'd be good to hear what the kids have to say.
This evening we've watched Big Hero 6. It's about a boy named Hira, and he has a big brother called Tadashi, and he goes to the science school, and Hira likes bot fighting, but instead of going to the bot fighting, Tadashi took him to the science school and showed him his kind of like lab and showed him what he's been working on, and it was this like robot thing called Baymax. And these people, and they have to grab a mask from this person because he's controlling these things called microbots, which you have a headband and then you can do whatever you want with them. So they have to go through this portal. So the villain's a villain because he misses his daughter that went through this portal in this machine, but she was lost in space. And Baymax, the boy, and the other people have to go grab the girl and go back. So Baymax disappears into space, but then the boy makes another Baymax. My favourite bit was I liked when they were practicing the fighting. My favourite bit is when Baymax had a little battery and he sounded all drunk and it was just like flop, flop, flop. My favourite bit was the end, the start, and the middle of it. So all of it. My favourite character was Baymax because they did a fist bump and he went like instead of poof. It was really funny. My favourite character is Baymax. He's just so funny. My favourite character was Baymax.
And what else do I ask you?
Song.
What was your favourite song?
Well, there wasn't really that much songs, so I don't really have a favourite song. There aren't many songs in this, so I don't really have a favourite song. I would rate it a 5 out of 5. I really liked it. I would give it maybe a 3 out of 5 because it's okay. I would give it a 10 plus 10. 10 plus 10. How much is 10 plus 10?
You tell me.
10. 20.
20, there we go.
It was amazing, but sometimes scary. Like, the middle of it was scary.
Thanks, Ollie.
Off I pop.
Off I pop.
Off I pop.
I'd forgotten about all that.
Yeah.
Bless the cuties.
Oliver's like at that age now when, sort of when how old Bonnie was. Was she 5 when we started doing this?
Yes.
So he's like he's 5 in January, so he's getting to that sort of age. He's starting to understand it a little bit better than he maybe did do before.
Yeah.
So he's getting a little bit more more to say for himself, I think. Still scoring them very strangely though. Anyway, do you want to do first impressions before we jump into the story?
Well, yeah, because I've told this story a bunch of times for other shows, but I watched this at Disney headquarters in London when it was like a preview of it. So before it came out,
Top secretly.
yeah, I got up at like 4:15 to get a train from Mirfield. This odd London train that goes through Mirfield.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, the one at like 5:30 in the morning. Got to Disney headquarters. So I was really tired and I was sat next to my boss and we watched it and I cried. Not like blubbering, but like, the little sly little cry next to him, which was kind of embarrassing because he was like, I told him and he was like, really? You cried? I was like, you didn't cry.
Hugh cries at everything,
Yeah.
movie-wise.
You cried next to him and it was embarrassing, and then you told him that you cried and he didn't notice. So what does that say about you? Maybe you should have just kept quiet.
Yeah, I'm like, look at me. I'm going to do it for you so you can see it live.
I'm quickly going to interrupt with a little Hugh anecdote. We once watched Saving Private Ryan together. And I was sat on the floor and he was sat on the couch, so he was sat behind me.
No.
And all of a sudden...
We were both sat on the couch in a cottage near Haworth.
and all of a sudden I heard this sound that went like, no.
No, right. What it was a little sob came out at the end when he salutes, and and he turns into old Ryan. Right, a little sob came out, so I thought, no, if I cough over it, it will mask it. So I went, but then it made it worse. So I went.
I done something a bit like that. The first time I cried at a film, the first film I cried at was Edward Scissorhands. When she goes, "Hold me," and he goes, "I can't."
Oh no!
I was like, "No, he just wants to hold her." And I did something very similar. I tried to hold it back and didn't do a very good job of it because it was alien to me. I'd never experienced anything like it.
Oh.
And now I cry all the time at films.
Yeah, I can't help it. But yeah, I was looking forward to seeing it because I do like it. Cards on the table there.
I knew nothing of this film. It seems to be the same for this entire period of time, but it had come onto Sky, and I'm trying to think, 2014. When would I have seen it? Probably when it first came out on Sky, so probably before Zootopia. So it's probably very similar to what I said with the last one, but I didn't know it was a Disney film. I knew absolutely nothing about it. So my expectations the first time going in were pretty non-existent. Really, I didn't have any, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I remember really enjoying it and being very emotional about it. And I'll talk about that when we go through bits of it.
I actually made a greetings card for this that didn't go through in the end. And at the time, because I do a bit of paper engineering, it was the best pop-up I'd ever made. And I was gutted when it didn't actually go through in the end because we didn't need it. We were like, we're not going to do Big Hero 6 because it wasn't kind of popular enough for greetings cards. So I never saw the light of day.
Hero 6
That's
card.
surprising. Is it popular enough now? Because I know...
Nah.
Still not.
Maybe when the TV series comes out.
Not to make a greetings card of it.
Oh, interesting.
Well, actually, no, we did do some, but it didn't warrant the expensive pop-up is what it was, I think.
Right, okay. I can't remember when I saw this, but I know that we bought the DVD to watch it, so it might have been quite soon after release. And sometimes I just buy the new Disney DVD because that's what I do because I'm a Disney fan. I didn't see it at the cinema, and it must have been a bit half-hearted because I remember thinking, this isn't for me. I think that for a long time Disney alternated girls' films with boys' films.
Yeah.
I think we're a lot more gender neutral now, but
Yeah.
I thought, this is one of the boys' ones.
Yeah.
Is what I thought.
This period more than any other, I think, where it's done that. It was it's a strange one, isn't it?
Although Zootopia, Zootropolis, is kind of everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, and it was a big surprise. It was a big surprise to me. It was a big revelation that, well, we're going to talk about what I thought.
Well, should we jump into the story then?
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm going to press the button.
So it's time to discuss how the story goes. I know it can't be worse than Oliver and Coke.
Well,
The exposition is strong with this one.
Ooh.
Right from the off. Tadashi delivers some terrible exposition. Like when they're escaping from the underground bot fight, he says, "You graduated high school when you were 13 and this is what you're doing?" And then straight away, he says, "For 10, I think it's their aunt says, for 10 years I did my best to raise the two of you." And then, what would mom and dad say? And Hero says, "I don't know. They're gone. They died when I was 3, remember?" It's so expositional. It's like...
It's the word remember in that sentence,
it's
isn't it?
just-
Like the brother wouldn't.
So right at the top, you've got some extremely lazy script.
they just want to get it out
really
there as quick
lazy.
as they can, though, don't they?
Yeah, but it really stood out this time. I was like, it's awful.
It's funny though, Lucy. Now you've mentioned this whole backstory for San Francisco and why it exists and what it all is and everything. And the fact that that's not mentioned at all, it kind of makes sense why they're throwing the exposition in that kind of hurried kind of way as well. It's not really thought out very well.
So you've got this like cool kid, bit of a rebel. He's not applying himself properly. He's bot fighting. He's doing really well at it. You know, all these tropes of like this genius kid, but he's not applying himself. He's got a great relationship with his brother, hasn't he? His brother's like a
Strong relationship, yeah. And then
Yeah.
and then that bike ride, you straight away. I know there's a lot of exposition. You're right, but you straight away by the end of that bike ride, you know why they're so close, and you understand that relationship completely. That bit of it's good, I think. It works really well to establish the characters quickly.
That bot fight at the beginning it's really cool, is what it is. The look of him just sitting cross-legged, all calm, doing his thing,
Crack of the neck.
playing a video game. But the fact that the killer robots, the nanobots, they start off cute, but they're actually really hard. It's so appealing to a child and an adult, a childlike adult such as myself, because it's so cathartic that you can be both and underestimated, you know.
And as someone who loves the film White Men Can't Jump, I love a hustle. I just genuinely love a hustle. So that appeals to me massively.
I've never seen White Men Can't Jump.
It is fantastic.
Is it?
I haven't seen it.
Ooh, maybe that's going on the list.
Well, I think it's fantastic. It's very of its time. It's very 90s basketball. But it's just a really fun film. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing about this film is you have to decide whether you're going to go along with the fantasy or not. The reason I don't like Iron Man is it's too ridiculous to the point where it's so fantastical that I just can't get on board with it. It's not done in a realistic way. But with this one, I kind of excuse it and I just go along with it. I mean, you've got all these teenage geniuses making these inconceivably brilliant things in this lab. Like they're all everyone's working on a project that's completely world changing. But where it almost loses me is when Hero presents those nanobots because it's like an 8-year-old's fantasy, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, oh, I've done this, and he does it. He gets it together in a weekend, and they can do anything, literally anything.
But I mean, just remember, this is his audition project. This is to get into the school. This isn't his final masters. This isn't his PhD thesis. This is like, oh, will you like me in the school because I can already do more than all of the rest of you put together.
You'd think there'd be a bit where it starts off amazingly and then it goes and it goes a bit wrong, and there's a bit of a disaster, and they say, look, you need some help, so come to this school and we can sort it out. But then at the same time, the other guy's like, oh, give them to me. The Gavin Belson character, I think of him as from Silicon Valley. He could say, oh no, I'll take you under my wing, and then there could be that conflict there, without it just being this already finished thing, like you say. If that's his audition thing, what this kid's going to achieve in his life is just.
No,
he just wants it mass producing. That's all he wants. He just wants someone to take it and start making it mass produce it so that they can.
I'd have just sold it for
when
a few
you say
million.
You need to decide whether you go along with fantasy or not. I think this decision, and this has only just occurred to me now, to not set it in Tokyo, which is a real world city that we know about, and set it in a city that we all know to be fictional and a different universe, works, because once you know that you're not in the universe that you currently live in, you can accept
I was going to
anything.
say exactly the same thing. I think it's a huge part of it. It aids that willing suspension of disbelief straight away.
But then it's not just that. It's not just the tech. It's like when he's upgrading everyone to be superheroes, where the heck does he get all those materials? He's building armor and all this stuff, and it's like, what? It's just exactly.
Wakanda.
He's just got them. But if you just look the other way, because it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
You have to go look. Let's
it's
just.
A cartoon.
He just got them from somewhere. It doesn't matter.
Are you not just accepting that they've got access to resources? I think that's just it. They can just get stuff.
Because Stan Lee's is.
I wouldn't even know where to go to get like a plank of wood. Like if someone said, "Oh, just get a plank of wood," and they go, "Oh, just pop down to a builder's yard," I'd go, "A builder? Where's that? Where are they? Do I just walk up and go, 'Excuse me'?" I'd be all nervous, like, "Do you have a plank of wood?" And they go, "Hey, Steve, he wants a plank of wood. He is a plank of wood." And I go, "How much is £50 okay?" And they go, £50? Yeah, and then I check it, and it turns out it was £2.
Are you saying it should be more like the A-Team and they've cobbled together with whatever they could find in the room that they were in at the time?
I think I just need some explanation of where the heck he's got these things from. But like I say, I just go, do you know what? I'm going to let it off. But I do know it's there. That's the thing in the back of my mind.
But the others are still part of that university, aren't they? And they had infinite resource at that university in the first place. So I think the assumption's there that he just stole all the stuff from the university, and what he didn't steal, as you rightly said, Lucy, one of the friends, I can't remember which one, the one that looks like Jason Mewes.
Fred.
Fred, that's right. Yeah, he's loaded, isn't he? So
Yeah,
he probably
apparently.
just sorted it all out from,
Yeah, we just need a line. Just one line. I mean, there's so much exposition.
Let's go to B&Q.
There's so much
That one.
exposition at the start. They can't do it here when it matters. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the screenwriter's brains are catering for Hugh's weird anxiety about buying wood. That's the thing.
I think many young kids, are going to watch this and have some questions like that. Like, where they got all these bits from?
If it was Pixar, they'd have probably brought Binford into it somehow, wouldn't they? Because of Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's very sad when his brother dies, isn't it?
It's very sad indeed. It's a sad film. He's already lost his parents, and now he loses his brother, who's his father figure.
And his auntie's a bit incompetent, isn't she? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's tragic.
Yeah.
Do you know?
It really is, though.
Do you know the bit where Baymax says? I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but when he says, "Tadashi is in here," and he says something like, "Tadashi is in here." I thought the first time I saw it that in the explosion, Baymax was in there, and he somehow got Tadashi inside, and he was incubating him and on life support inside him. And I took it so literally. I was like, oh, he's inside Baymax because he's hollow inside. That's brilliant.
Like Luke when he's in the medi-tank.
Exactly, in the Bacta tank. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. But that's really silly.
We've got a couple of montages in this film, haven't we? Do you like a montage?
Who
Yeah,
doesn't?
yeah.
Who doesn't like a montage?
Yeah, of him like taking a bit of a nap at his desk and then somehow making a bajillion microbots from. You don't see him bringing the material in, do you?
And putting them in wheelie bins as well.
Putting him in 9 wheelie bins or whatever it is.
I know where we get the wheelie bins from. That's
Yeah.
all right. Just order them from the council.
Yeah,
That
just
bit's
keep saying it's been nicked.
And then you've got the Immortals one. Is that when they do the Immortals? When they're doing the
When they try to get the mask off.
training montage?
Yeah. A montage, like, you know, the device of it is just such a cheap and easy way just to go, oh, we don't have to explain this. We can just show a montage and then we can get from there to there. And now they've got all the powers. Done. 2 minutes later, everyone's
You're
a superhero.
It's really interesting, this, because I've been thinking about the story quite a bit, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I couldn't fault it. And you've like shattered it for me.
Thank you.
No, honestly.
Thank you.
Because you're right. That's just as lazy as the exposition at the start, though. It's exactly the same thing, just done in a different way. How can we get through this stuff as quickly as possible so we don't have to dwell on it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I think it's a mindset when you come into this film. You have to just go, right, this is going to be ridiculous and fantastical. Just go with it, and it's good fun. The only reason I'm really pointing it out is because we're, critiquing it, and these things are in the back of my mind, but I do push them to the back and just enjoy this film because it is enjoyable.
Speaking of enjoyment, can we just go back to the death again, please? Because the first time I watched this film, that absolutely crushed me.
Ugh.
It really did, and,
Yeah.
and it was made worse because I was watching it with Lucas, and he
no.
wanted to understand what had happened, and explaining that to, well, the 3-year-old as he probably was at the time, might have been 4, was really, really, really difficult. And then when you start thinking about your own kids and stuff, it hits home, and then it becomes worse, doesn't it?
And you've got, let's face it, he is an older brother.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It's like, really hits home, doesn't it?
And then, but that sadness is just, it's there throughout the film. The whole thing is just about how he's dealing with the depression of losing his brother.
It's about the 12 stages of grief, isn't it? With
Without a doubt.
anger, bargaining, all that.
Yeah,
I don't know the other 10 steps.
It's a really fun film, and it's very, very enjoyable, but it's tragic at the same time, and they do that really, really well.
Yeah,
really well.
I think that progression of him sort of being upset and then being a bit angry and a bit of a delinquent and like missing college and stuff, and then finding this project to work on, but then his goal is just to get revenge, and then ultimately it's not just about that, it's about something else. It's all really nicely done, and it feels quite organic how he goes through that.
How the friends, it's like Baymax prescribes friends to him, and I love how they get on board and they do what's needed, but there's a point where they say no to him. When his revenge goes
that's still
too
them
far.
doing what they need, isn't it? What
Absolutely.
he needs, isn't it? It's just you can't see that, and then you're in that
that's
far.
brilliant. I think that's absolutely brilliant thing to sort of, because at one point you could think that you could forget why they're doing it and why they're going along. You think, no, they want the same revenge and they're doing the same things. And when that happens, you're reminded this is all about his grief. This isn't about the mission. This is about his grief. And I think that's a really nice story arc when that happens.
But they're all grieving as well, aren't
Yeah.
they? But I think them supporting him is helping them get through it as well. Yeah.
What do you think about the twist that the bad guy isn't the bad guy? So you see, what's he called? The Gavin Belson character.
I want to say Kavanagh. That's not
Oh,
right.
it's something like that, isn't it? Oh no,
I'll
no,
look
no,
at it
no.
while you-
Is that
Oh, no.
like?
Oh, isn't? Hang on, I'm sure I've got it written down here somewhere. Anyway, so the sort of evil.
Callahan.
Callahan, that's right.
Oh no, I'm thinking.
But is
So,
that-
so
is
who's
that
the other
tonight?
guy? Alistair something.
Alistair Cree.
Right.
That's
So,
Alan Tudyk.
so he turns up, and you think, right, Alan Tudyk, the new
Welker.
Fred Welker, Frank Welker.
You tweeted a nice thing about him, by the way. That you shared something quite good. Well, one of you did. Was it you?
Yeah, it was me.
Was it you? This week.
Him doing Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
When he goes.
Definitely worth checking out.
Have you not watched it, Lucy?
No.
All right.
Yeah, I do.
I'll show you later. So he turns up, and you think, oh, he's the bad guy, and then you're like, that's too obvious. The guy, the sort of evil genius Apple CEO guy, he's not going to be it. So it must be someone else. And at that point, I'm actually thinking, Tadashi's in the mask. It's Tadashi.
I think I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
that.
First time I saw it, I was like him, and I actually was a little surprised when it was Professor Callahan.
Yeah, I was
I was
too.
like, oh, okay. Oh, it's that guy instead, because we think him and Tadashi have died, don't we?
Yeah.
So you've got three people to choose from, and it was, if you think twice, you'll get there. But I only thought once, and I thought, oh no, it's not the obvious guy, it's the second guy. But actually, it's not. It's the third guy.
Well, for Laura watching it this time, she didn't get the chance to do any of that because as soon as the explosion happened, Lucas said, well, he's not dead because he's the bad guy.
Thanks, Lucas.
Yes.
What else?
But even he's tragic. He's gone through and is going through exactly the same things for pretty much the same reasons. He's going through revenge because of grief. And there's parallels there. So he's not even that bad a bad guy. He's just done some stupid things.
What do you think about him losing Baymax at the end? The selfless act of Baymax.
What do you mean? What do we think about it?
Well,
It
I
wasn't
don't-
a selfless act.
I'm just prompting.
I do have a note here that says, why does Disney and Pixar keep force feeding us grief? And because it feels quite unnecessary sometimes, and it's so draining now. It's got to the point where it's every single time. But
To be fair, I don't think Disney do it that often. I can't
he
think of
loses.
many of
He
them.
loses his brother. No, but like in Frozen, they,
Oh,
lose, they
Frozen.
lose the parents straight
That
away,
hurt me.
and
Frozen 2.
Grandma dies in Moana. You know what I mean? It's just like constant. It's like it's to the point where it puts you off wanting to go see with some of these films. But in this, you have like Tadashi dies, and then
Callahan's
daughter, and then Baymax at the end. It's like it's a tough watch at times.
When his brother dies, actually, it's a strange one for me because if you think about most of the Pixar films where they do grief in the first like 5 minutes.
Yeah, they do now.
You're lulled into a false sense of security with that. You've bought into those two characters
He's
massively.
become a central character,
and then he's gone, and that's I think that's why it hits so hard.
I think when Baymax dies at the end, that's the last bit of Tadashi that he's still got in his life, and that leaves him. So it's almost like that process.
It's acceptance.
The
isn't it?
stages of grief is over and it's gone. It's the acceptance, and then the fact that he's able to rebuild from scratch because he's still got the memory card is quite symbolic.
But you said it was a selfless act of Baymax, and it wasn't. It was a conscious act of Heroes.
Yeah,
he made that decision. He was told that he needed to do it to save everybody, but it was his decision to do it.
True.
Which truly is acceptance.
Should we score it?
Well, I just want to say I like how they found a way to do drunk humour in a Disney film.
Oh man, that bit is just brilliant.
So funny.
Yeah. I'll talk about that a bit more in the next bit, I think. But yes,
Yeah.
I just thoroughly enjoyed that little bit. Brilliant.
Yeah. And then my only final note was the thing where, like we say, Baymax has put his chip in his fist. That's so clever. I didn't see that coming. He fist bumps. The only thing he's got left is the jettisoned fist. And Baymax thought to put his chip in it. It's genius. I was so chuffed when that happened. I was so happy. Anyway.
Yes, no, you're right. I don't have anything else written down, I don't think. No, let's score it.
Okay, I'll go first. It's pretty tight, but there are elements of it that are quite silly. But it just in terms of continuity and not continuity, just them forcing the story forward, I think. However, they do tie up all the loose ends, and the heart at the centre of the story is so poignant and well done that I'm going to give it a 9.
Wow. I've given it an 8. It's great fun. It's fantastically silly, but it's also funny and has heart. I've knocked off a point for lazy exposition and another one for the almost laughable, like I say, fantasy elements, which you have to just get on board with them. But they are there, so I have to mark it with an 8.
Well, when I was driving from my wing of the house to your wing of the house on the way here today, it was an absolute 100% definitely 10 for story. And then you started talking about exposition and stuff, and it was like a light bulb moment. So for moments in the last 10 or 15 minutes, it's been down as far as a 6. But
you're so fickle, Chris.
I know, but the grief running through it, the way that they deal with that grief, and the fact that it is just so much fun as well, I'm going to give it an 8.
Cool.
Let's move on to animation.
Look at the animation, you, the characterization, you, and don't forget the background and the style. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
They're pretty competent by this point in history, aren't they?
What was the one before this?
Well,
Frozen.
It wasn't Zootopia.
Frozen. We're at Frozen.
Frozen, yeah.
Yeah,
Frozen.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
it's a world above Frozen.
Yeah.
The design of San Francisco is just delicious. I mean, I've got a soft spot for Japanese architecture and design anyway, and marry that with a bit of Victoriana and, luscious sort of vivid pastel colours in the architecture and all that kind of thing. Just absolutely gorgeous.
Aunt Cass is a babe.
I thought you'd like Aunt Cass.
She's
very Pixar, isn't she?
She is very Pixar, but she's one of the best looking Disney characters of all time.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I'd go with that. Yeah.
Forget the fairest in the land. Who's after Aunt Cass?
I was interested to know whether, from an animation point of view, whether they did some kind of sharing program with Pixar, because Inside Out came out a year later, and that's all set in San Francisco. But the thing that stands out to me is we talked about Zootropolis and the quality of the animation there compared to Frozen, and now we've gone backwards. We realise there's a midway point in between that.
Exactly,
and that feels a bit more comfortable, because you kind of, when we were talking about Zootropolis, I was thinking, but if they could do that, why wasn't Frozen that?
I will tell you about holes in my research, because I started to read about like they always do, they develop 5 new programs to do certain things, and I started to read about how they found a program that could calculate the dispersal of light through vinyl and all that. And thing is, I don't really understand it, and I just get to the point where I don't want to talk about that in the history, because I'm just regurgitating words.
Yeah.
But yes, They did use support from Pixar at this point. I know that. I don't know what the support was. They also wrote a program for Light, but had a backup program from Pixar's in case they didn't finish their program in time, but they did, I think.
See, this is what I want to hear. This is ace.
Well, I'm sorry. Next time I'll make sure that I do leave.
Well,
that
this is a good
but-
place to mention it, though.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
I'm sorry I didn't write down the names of the programs and the dates, but it got to the point there was a lot in this
Yeah.
where it's just I'm regurgitating tech, and I'm not good at that.
What I liked was the way the microbots, moved once Callahan had them, because they were really stringy and sinewy, and they were like Venom. Venom, the character Venom.
Yeah.
And they were so cool. I've not really noticed that before, but like the way they move was just really, really slick.
Because you don't see a lot of that beforehand, really, do you? But he does his introduction to what it is, and it's all about construction and stuff, and so it's very
Geometric.
Geometric, yeah.
And symmetrical, yeah. Do you know, I've not much else to say, to be honest.
The drunk bit for me. So
right, yeah.
How can you take a character? This isn't just the drunk bit, but that's the key place for me. How can you take a character in Baymax, which is a robot first off, and its face is a line with two circles, and get so much expression out of that character? That for me is where the animation is brilliant in this film.
And that for me is where the old Disney that did the rubber hose dwarves, and is that right? Dwarfs.
You did say dwarves.
The bell there. I was fully expecting a bell.
The bell's in the other room.
The bells. I wonder how many shows we've got.
Forgot the bell.
Where Lucy hasn't said dwarves at some point.
She still says it to this day, and I go ding. When we're at home.
But going back to the way that they used to characterize objects and things back in that day, and the way that Walt made them study, and then it's very tempting when you're watching the 3D computer-generated movies of these days to think a lot of that kind of artistry and emotion disappears behind technology. But that is a prime example of the fact that the Disney touch is still there.
Because you can't do that easily with 3D animation, and that's what makes that character great, because it's inflatable, because it can change in size and shape and things. Even just little things like shoving his belly into the armor. That stuff's great, and it's something that they can play with a bit more than maybe they can normally do with 3D imagery.
The way Baymax is animated as well, it's so precise and so well observed. So it's humorous, and like I can't remember because it was a while ago since we watched it, but I've made a note about something about the way he observes Hero is really cool. The way he observes here, I don't know what that means, but
it just looks right.
There's something about the interaction with him that was like just so expertly done.
It is. It's just the way he tilts his head and he looks down at him, and you can get so much about.
Yeah, and you can see him processing what Hero's telling him. You know, it's just so nicely done.
You can see him processing him. Sorry, you can see him processing it. That's ridiculous. There's bits as well that I know I talked about Short Circuit before. But there's a bit in Short Circuit where a butterfly lands on his hand.
Your mother was a snowblower.
And there's that wonder of seeing this butterfly and curiosity,
and then he chases it off.
Curiosity's there in spades.
Do you know? I've done that about 2 or 3 times in my comic strip with the Yeti. Yeah, the Yeti sees a butterfly and he'll just kind of laugh and chase after it. It's exactly the same. So I haven't copied it from that, but it's just that trope of like a big character really fascinated by something small and cute.
I've written down, you know, sometimes I have a little thing a little niggle for me, but nobody else ever notices them.
Yeah.
So the first time they meet Callahan, there's a bit of a strange thing. We walk them out to the elevator when he's talking to them, and they kind of almost glide across the floor, like it's like they're not part of it. It felt like, you know, cutscenes in a computer game.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, it felt like that kind of awfulness.
Okay.
But it was just one bit there, and that was it. Just noticed it. There you go.
I'm most surprised when anything like that turns up because, like, there's that many eyes on it. There's no one spotted that.
It's strange, isn't it?
Oops, sorry, I just jabbed you with my pencil.
But it could just be something that I don't like, an aesthetic that isn't aesthetic to me.
I do like a film to have a look, you know, a colour scheme almost. And I think that when they're out and about in San Francisco, that's my favourite thing. But I'm not sure that when they're in the robotics lab and the team, the actual Big Hero 6, gel as well as they possibly could, if I'm going to be really critical of art and design.
They've definitely tried to get a bunch of very different, like wildly different people, haven't they? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's just, I don't know, the looks, the way that eyes are drawn, and they don't all look like they're from the same species.
They feel a little bit Despicable Me sometimes to me.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. A little bit. Yeah.
That's a terrible criticism.
It is, isn't it? It is, but it might just be because Honey Lemon reminds me of the female character in the second Despicable Me film.
Yeah.
It might just be that.
She does feel familiar, doesn't she?
Right, should we score this one?
Go on then.
Do you know I've given it a 10? Because I can't. It's very precise. It's very little to fault. It's humorous, and there are a few surprises. I just like, yeah, think it like I don't think of it as like one of the greats of all time. But when you're watching it, you just think there's nothing wrong here. 10.
Yeah, 10 for me as well. It's brilliant, isn't it?
I think I was floated with the 10 because I couldn't think of any downfalls, and that's what prompted my last comment with because I don't love it. I don't feel emotional about what's on screen here. It's just really, really, really competently done. I think it's fantastic, but I'm going to give it a 9 again.
It's difficult at this stage, isn't it? Because the way they animate is, when we've said this before, the way they animate is so accomplished now. You're literally nitpicking to find anything.
Oh, yeah.
And it comes down to personal preference, doesn't it?
Yep.
Music then.
So do do so me do do me so do do so me do. We are going to talk about the music hits. Rate the songs and score the incidental bits.
Well, there's one song in it, isn't there? That's what the kids. That's what the kid said. Do you know what annoys me? Because I feel like they should be saying we could be immortal, but they're saying we could be immortals, and that doesn't sound right to me. If I was writing it, I would write
the Marvel comic book Immortals.
I would write we could be immortal. I wouldn't say to you guys, if we play our cards right, we could be immortals. I'd say we could be immortal.
Or immortal people.
Yeah.
We could all be immortal, yeah. It doesn't make sense. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, don't say that's the guy down the woodyard. He'll overcharge you.
Yeah. See him coming.
Does it fit with the film? The key song for the film?
I'd be honest.
I think so.
I think that the good old head bobbing guitar rock that it is does fit with the film.
I think with they've got a few princess films under the belt. They've, I think they've gone, let's make this for boys. And I think this is written with I can totally see a 6-year-old running around punching the air, singing this song.
Yeah.
And I just think they've this song's perfect for the film.
Now you say that, but
I'm saying that, but
our test audience didn't have that reaction, did they?
And that's your boys are about that age, aren't they?
Well, the thing for me about it is, without being hipster about it, I used to really like Fall Out Boy. I really liked their first 2 albums, and then they decided to do everything they could to get into the charts and push themselves into this electronic rock thing, and it just doesn't work for me. It never has, and this is just a prime example of that dirge for me.
So what you're saying is you liked it before it was cool?
I did like it before it was cool. Well, no, before it became really uncool, I think is what it is. But it's all right. I think the Imagine Dragons song on the end of Wreck-It Ralph, Ralph Wrecks the Internet, is better.
I like the oxymoron though of being immortal, but not for long.
Not for long. Yeah.
I wonder
how long it took him to think of that lyric.
It's funny, and then you hear it 28 times. But it's a clever line. We could be immortal, but not for long. I like that.
What does it mean though in the context
It doesn't
of the
mean
film?
anything.
In the context of the film, what does it mean?
It means we could make an impact. We can live forever by the things we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The score.
I mean, if you invented nanobots, I think you'd be your reputation would be immortal then.
Mm-hmm.
Or anything that any of those kids make in that lab, you'd be immortalised.
Callahan's going to be immortalised for what he did as well.
Well, yeah. He's in prison for a long time. The score is the first time I've really sat and listened to focusing on the score, and it's banging.
Yeah.
It's got this sort of computer chip, synthesized electronic. It's there's a lot going on. I can't remember much right now, but all I remember is I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I remember it being pretty decent. Yeah.
It's a fun little quirky, Japanesey. I like it. No one else got anything to say?
I have it wasn't an orchestral backing track, was it? They had used some more instruments, had made it a bit more modern. I suppose this would be good to listen to, but I didn't find it the most memorable score. I quite liked that Immortal song, but I just quite liked it. I didn't love it. I think I'm ready to score it.
you loved it, but not for long.
Right. Yeah, let's score it.
6.
There you go.
I shot too early.
I always go first on music. You've ruined
You do.
it for me.
Let Chris go.
Go on, Chris.
No, it's fine. I'm going to be a 6 as well.
Right.
Well, I'm giving it an 8. No, I'm not. I'm giving it a 6.
I give it a 7. I think it's a great score, and I do like the standout track, but there's just not that much to actually talk about, is there? As evidenced by like the fact that we've done it for about 3 minutes. So I'll give it a 7.
Best bits, because I remembered today.
Favourite bits.
Yeah.
I like it when Baymax tells Hero he's going to grow hair on his face, armpits, chest, and then he gets interrupted. I think, does Hero go, okay, thank you, and that stops him from saying that.
Yeah.
That's something I missed. And I love how you have the Stan Lee scene at the end, and then the last bit of credits kicks in to credit him. Right? I was reading that in my notes, not remembering what it was. What I mean is that I love how Stan Lee comes on, and then you've just got one last bit of credits that's like, and Stan Lee. And this happened in, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but it's something like that happened in Ghostbusters yesterday. Something happened in the credits, and Lucy said, what? And I pointed, I was like, wait for it. I've given a bit away there, but you know, I like it when they play around with the credits like that.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
I liked the opening bot battle.
Yes.
A lot, particularly the little 5-part nanobots before he became a 10,000-part nanobot, and everything Baymax did. I've met Baymax. I've hugged Baymax. He's a good meet and greet.
Drunk Baymax is great. It's just a lovely little scene, that just brilliant. And Ollie, ever since we watched that film, and he did not want to watch it, but we managed to get him to watch it, and he thoroughly enjoyed it. And ever since, he's been doing that fist bump, and so I just love that.
Oh yeah,
Love it.
Right.
Love it. Cry factor.
I'm gonna have to read.
It's absolutely beautiful.
He really loves it. I don't know why they just can't be together.
Hugh's cry factor. I mean, obviously, I started feeling it when Tadashi dies. You know what I mean? So you know, it's up, it's getting going there. But there's weird things, you know, like every now and again, something weird happens in a film. I'm like, I don't know why that's making me emotional. And it starts with when they fall out of the warehouse window and Baymax wraps Hero up in a protective hug. I'm like, oh. And there's something about the focus of Baymax on protecting him. There's something so simple and noble about it that I'm just like. And also, I think it happens later when they fall out of the car. It grabs him again and protects him there. It's just really sweet. I don't know what this is. When Baymax is in destroy mode and he's just on a mindless rampage and the music's going, he's just got these red eyes. There's something about that. But do you know when he raises his fist to blast Professor Callahan, but then Honey Lemon just gets the healthcare chip back just in time. But you don't see it going in, and then the camera just pulls back and he's frozen in that position. And then he's not evil anymore. Something about the whole way that's choreographed is kind of beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the porthole, guys. The porthole. When Baymax protects him from that debris, and there's like a half-second shot of him looking at Hero just before it hits him. He just moves in front of him. It's a split-second shot, and he just looks at him. And again, it's that focus on this thing protecting you. And then he has to say goodbye to him. I'm in bits. It's a 5, guys. I give this a 5. What do you think?
I agree. For me, when you said about his brother dying, is it Tadashi? I can never remember his called.
Tadashi. Yeah.
Tadashi. When Tadashi dies, for me, that's at 5 then.
Right.
And it has to be, and it has to drop from there, and it doesn't at any point. It just stays the whole time, and it is just constantly going. Sorry, do you?
Well, that gets the full 5 teardrops, and that sounds something like this.
Number 4.
Fourth one was no good.
Right, guys, this had a £165 million budget and it smashed it with a worldwide box office of 657.9 million.
Blimey.
Pre-billion club, though, because we're not many years off Disney having a year when they did, was it $6 billion club films in a year or something? But yeah, a nice return on your investment.
But not good enough return on investment to warrant a card.
No.
Cards being made for it.
Not an extra fancy card.
Not in the UK anyway. It won many critics awards, including the Oscar. It was pipped out on the Golden Globe by the Lego Movie. I know. So we already know it's critically acclaimed. IMDb give it 7.8, which is a smidge above the average, but we've had higher than that on IMDb, so not the best. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave it 90%, which is very high for Rotten Tomatoes. The audience gave it 91%.
Wow.
So this is a popular film, but what did 37 Disney Street give it, Hugh?
We gave it one more than Aladdin. We've given this one more than The Lion King. Other comps we got? One more than Fantasia. Exactly the same as Pinocchio with 81.
Wow.
Wow.
All those classic films.
I know.
So
You
low.
But one day
go
this-
back and look at Aladdin and think, I think it's animation. You know, at this stage, films of this kind of level of critical acclaim. In the old days, we would have been picking apart the animation, but it's just so
But
seamless
they're built
now.
to a model, aren't they?
Because you remember Aladdin, the actual animation, as we noted at the time, is quite ropey in places.
There's moments
and very
when
sort of like
people's faces bend and
yeah,
stuff, isn't
and the way it's filmed and framed is kind of a bit dull, you know.
But in spite of all of that, if we take a look at at all these scores that we've given over time, how many of them are below 80? Not a huge amount. There are quite a few, but not a huge amount. How many below 50? Virtually none. There's about 3 or 4 out there.
I'm seeing-
Of the
There's a
classics.
lot below 80.
I've seen a lot below 80.
There's a lot
Like,
in the
I'm literally
70s.
going.
Actually, there were loads around
I'm literally
60,
going
right?
like all in a row: 60, 72, 77, 61, 67, 61, 73, 53, then 98, 64, 76, 79, 76, 64,
So a lot of 70s
63.
there.
Yeah,
A lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
70s.
Loads and
We
loads.
gave Mulan 91.
We did.
I mean, I'm not
Oh, yeah.
disputing it. I'm like, oh, okay.
For a second there, I thought we meant the live action one. I'm like, how?
No, we didn't do that. I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
No, don't bother.
Oh, I liked it.
Yeah. What happens now then? We wrap up, I guess, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you got anything to tell us about Lucy? Are you doing
No,
anything?
there were check out the Disneyland Paris show. That's really picking up a lot of steam. We're doing it on a weekly basis, and we are regular as clockwork with that one. We do it live at 8:30 on YouTube, but it goes on all the podcast hosting things on the Monday. So check that one out. We also have some vlogs out. Something I didn't mention on the Disneyland Paris one is I think I'm going to do Vlogmas this year, guys. I think I'm going to do daily 5-minute Disney themed.
Susie used to do that.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Our friend Susie, yeah.
For the 12 days of Christmas or what? Wait, is it meant to go from the 1st to the 25th?
Don't know, actually. I guess so, yeah. I imagine it would.
Like an advent calendar.
Yeah, cool.
So subscribe to our
That's pretty
YouTube
fun.
channel if you're at all interested in seeing me do some Disney themed vlogmasing.
I guess in terms of this show, we've got Moana next, haven't
Moana.
we? But we're getting very close to Christmas as well, and we want to do something for Christmas.
It will be the first week of December when we do.
Yeah, and then
Moana.
Canto's out soon, but I don't know when you guys are going to get to see it. We're going to see it next week, but it depends when we've all seen it when we get to do it, isn't it? So there'll be stuff coming, but it's still going to be every couple of weeks, I think, isn't it? We're going to continue in that vein.
I think we've got a bit of I think we decided the other week, didn't we, that we're actually going to probably have to do one a week for at least 3 weeks.
Yeah, possibly.
If that's possible. And then do a Christmas one.
Yeah, we'll see how we go anyway. We'll see what happens.
Do we know what we're doing for Christmas yet?
No, we don't.
I think we maybe said we might do another where we all choose one, maybe?
Oh, like we did that last year for one of the shows, didn't we?
Or should we do 2?
Or should we talk about it off screen?
Yeah, we talked about doing
No, let's do one now.
the Snowed In at the House of Mouse,
Yeah.
or whatever it's called, that one. I don't know. We don't know what we're going to do. So next episode might be Moana, it might be Encanto, it could be Christmas, because, we don't have a great track record.
If you subscribe, you'll be the first to find out.
Absolutely, yeah, without a doubt. But for now, we will bid you adieu and see you next time. So bye from me.
Bye.
Bye, pals.